So I spend some time in the House, especially around question period or around votes in the House of Commons. I might stand up to speak on a particular bill, or I'm presenting because I'm the one who presents the accounts of government, the public accounts or the estimates of government. That's my role to present those to Parliament. So tomorrow, for instance, I'll be presenting the supplementary estimates C. Okay. Yes, there was a supplementary estimates A and B, but this one is supplementary estimate C, and so that's just a way of being accountable to Parliament and how we're spending the money. So that's kind of my responsibility as Treasury. And I do a lot of work with budgets, and I do a lot of work negotiating with public sector unions, and that means I'm interacting with people who, with me, both of us in our different ways represent employees, and of course there's a lot of public sector employees here in Ottawa. Yeah. So that ties me to Ottawa more than most departments would.
And how many unions are you dealing with the public servants?
I am dealing currently with 17 unions.
17 unions.
Negotiating 27 collective agreements simultaneously.
Now, here's a question I had was, you travel obviously to other countries.
Yeah.
You would probably, I'm just guessing, meet with other parliamentarians from other countries that have similar roles to you. Do they have as many unions and as many collective bargaining agreements to deal with?
Well, it depends, obviously, on each country.
Yes.
But it's the same issues in the sense that we're all trying to make sure we have public servants who are dedicated, who are efficient, who are happy, with the jobs they're doing.
Absolutely.
And that we're happy with the results we're getting from them. That's a common challenge that everybody faces. So that's really not unique to Canada. It's really worldwide.
Is there any countries that you specifically look at, or maybe that are written up as doing things the right way, or maybe they went through a tough time with their unions and they went through the tough times. Right. They, like the Treasury Board Secretary in that country was, I guess, slagged on for a while. But after 1 or 2 years after the changes were made, the public servants said, you know what, it was rough for 2 years, but in the end, it did become, we are more efficient now, we are happier.
I would say, though, that, everybody's going through the same thing that way and trying to deal with balancing budgets and dealing with austerity and so on. But the choices we've had to make in Canada are a lot less severe than what they've had to do in Europe or in the United States. In some areas, they still have to make those choices. UK has already made a lot tougher choices because they were further in the hole than we were. So in a sense, because our economy is good, and I would argue our management has been good, that didn't have to have made the same tough choices. We've had to make choices. And we've made those choices, but it's not to the same degree or level as some of these other countries.
Well, it's kind of good, I guess. We get to see their errors and correct things, too, before anything even gets to that point, right?
Yeah, that's right. And
like our housing market, for instance.
That's a very
we got to watch the states
go
through it, so we got to correct issues before they
and we've just got different structures. So the United States, they have mortgage interest deductibility, so there was no incentive to pay down your mortgage in the United States because you basically
got money back from the government.
You got money back from the government when you had when you were paying your mortgage, right, and the mortgage interest part of it.
Yeah.
And so whereas Canadians, there's almost a psychology. You want to pay down your mortgage as quickly as possible because it's after-tax money that you're paying it down with. So you don't want to have that on your debt load forever. So it's different circumstances. I kind of like our system better. I think it's good when you pay down your mortgage, and I think that makes us a nation more of savers than of spenders. And you got to have a healthy balance. We want people to spend money, but we also want people not to have such terrible debt levels that they're going to get in trouble.
And I think that's getting better and better in our country. So
I think so too.
I hope so. And we'll be right back with Tony Clement. We're just going to take a quick little break, listen to Jen talk about those 3 events I said at the start, as well as one more song from Brandon Allan. Andrew's going to like this song. It's called Winter.
Hey, there you go. Love it.
And we'll be right back, and we'll talk about some open data and some more transparencies in government. And we'll be right back.
Thanks, guys. Well, if you spent last weekend hiding indoors from the cold and you feel that you're finally ready to rejoin the world, then come check out some really great events taking place this Saturday and Sunday. First up is the second annual Sip and Slurp Noodle Fest, happening Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. at the Shaw Center. It's a noodle showdown where chefs will deliver their own unique spins on popular noodle dishes such as ramen, Thai, Italian, and Korean, and much more. And some of the vendors will also be serving some street food-inspired snacks. Now, sadly, all the early tickets have been sold, but you can still get tickets at the door for $15 starting at 7 p.m. I should also mention, though, that this is a cash-only event, so there will be cash bars and all foods are priced between $1 to $5. If you run out of cash, not a problem. There will be ATM machines available throughout the festival. Plus, Noodle Fest is open only to those ages 19 and over, so organizers strongly suggest that you bring some ID with you. If you're looking, though, for an evening of dancing, music, and a night market, may I suggest the Hot Potato event at the Museum of Nature. Billed as the hottest night out at the museum, it's also a fundraiser for the Ottawa Food Bank. Over 25 local female artists are creating a mixed media legacy painting that will involve live audience participation, so that should be pretty interesting. There will also be a live floral installation by Joel Frappier, who, and this is a pretty interesting tidbit, he was Celine Dion's florist for her wedding. There will be a poutine truck, some wine, food samples. So again, this event is going to be only for those ages 19 and older. So come on out and dance the night away for a great cause. Tickets are $25 each, and they can be purchased at www.snapuptickets.com and do a quick search for Hot Potato. Doors open at 8 o'clock. Well, my last recommendation for this weekend is the Coeur Noir Affair February Beer Dinner at the Wellington Gastropub, happening Sunday evening at 5:30. It's a 4-course dinner paired with this year's lineup of Beau's February beers. And you'll need to come dressed in your best blacks. That is the dress code. Tickets are $75, which includes tax and tip. So how great is that? That is a complete bargain, in my opinion. But here is the tricky part. There is a possibility that this dinner is sold out. But you know what? If you love food and beer pairings, I would give the restaurant a call and see if there are any last-minute cancellations, and perhaps you could put yourself on the list. So give the Wellington Gastropub a call at 613-729-1315. And that's it for today. Have yourselves a great weekend.
Says all that I want to say. Well, he looks like me, but has a stronger will. Like a weak man after a quick drink from the still. It's cold and dark outside, but I have got.
All right, thank you so much, Jen, and thank you, Brandon Allan. That song was Winter, of course, from the Compromises EP. So one major thing that I love that you do for the country is, and it's grown, I saw you at Startup Day on the Capitol.
Yeah.
At Chateau Laurier, which was an excellent day.
Yeah, that was great.
Because I got to learn that there are the amount of people working in the government that are coming from the private sector to start working with entrepreneurship. so we can, better things for our
absolutely
home businesses. That was great. And you spoke there as well, and that was a very interesting talk. And a lot of it had to do with the open data competition, which conveniently for us is this weekend.
That's
48
right.
hours. So if you'd like to talk a bit about that.
Sure. Let me frame this for your listeners. I like to be dramatic. Since the dawn of time, this is the way the world worked. When human beings started to aggregate and to create societies and create governance and governments collected information, and they kept that information under lock and key because it was the government's information. Yeah. It wasn't the public's information. It was the government's information. That's the way the world worked until very recently. And now we've got a worldwide movement called open data, where governments around the world, including Canada, are pushing out that data and those data sets out to researchers, to citizens, to NGOs, to the public, and to entrepreneurs. And this is where it gets really exciting to me, because if we can create new applications of the data that make citizens' lives easier or better, makes government more transparent and accountable, and creates wealth through the apps that are associated with open data, then we've created whole new industries for our country. Everybody has a smartphone who's probably listening in, or most people do. On your smartphone, every Canadian has a weather app because we care about the weather and messes up our lives when we don't know about the weather.
Exactly. So
everybody has a weather app. Well, the information that populates your weather app is open data from Environment Canada. So these things do have value, and the Weather Network and other weather app sites.
And maps and such, right?
Maps comes from GPS, geospatial data, right? And so your map app comes from open data as well. And every time you have you find out when the bus is coming because of the transit aspect of your map app, that is open data from municipalities. So this does have value. And so we've created a site called open.canada.ca. We've populated it with over 210,000 open data sets. And now I didn't want bureaucrat X14 on the 10th floor of some office building in Ottawa and tasking her or him saying, okay, you create the apps for the Government of Canada. No. I want it to be crowdsourced. So I created a competition called CODE, Canadian Open Data Experience.
You have to have the...
Yeah, you got to have an acronym. It's Ottawa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got to have an acronym. So CODE is basically a nationwide competition where coders and designers will compete against one another for cash and prizes to come up with new apps using Canadian open data. And so we're doing the second version of this, the 2.0 version of this, this weekend. We did it once last year. I was kind of hoping that we'd have maybe 100 people participating.
So this was the hackathon,
the hackathon.
So to speak?
It's a hackathon. And last year I was hoping for 100 people to participate. 927 signed up. It was unbelievable. It became automatically at that time the largest hackathon in Canadian history just in its first year. So we're going to have more than that competing this weekend from across the country, coast to coast to coast, and hopefully they'll come up with some great ideas, and they'll be competing for prizes. But here's the other part about it, which is really exciting. We've invited the venture capital sector to be part of it as well. So these VC guys and gals will come in, see who's really bright and who's come up with great ideas, and they'll start funding them, and we'll have created some funded entrepreneurs as a result of this hackathon. So I'm quite excited about it.
Now, I've read that there is still some data that people try to get and whatnot that still isn't accessible. Can you give some examples?
Well,
of
some of it's in PDF form, for instance.
Okay.
So it's not as manipulable as people would like, but we're eventually getting these things solved, and
it takes time. Right?
It takes time, and we have to curate these things. And what I've done is I've created open data by default. So before I had to convince and rattle the chains of all the departments in Ottawa and saying, please put more open data on our site. And they would have, or they may not have. There was no incentive. But now I've created a Treasury Board policy for all departments saying it's open data unless you can convince me that it should stay closed. Now, it might be closed for national security or because it's too private or personal, whatever it is. There might be some legit reasons, but basically most of the open data cannot be, sourced to an individual, so it doesn't create the privacy concern. Or
Yeah.
a majority of it doesn't involve national security issues. So all that data is going to be out there.
And who was the first winner?
Electric Sheep was the name of the team, and they came up with an app that helps a newcomer to Canada settle. So